Today, I'd like to talk about claims of NASA fakery, a staple of the Flat Earth dogma. Everything they've ever shown you is CGI and composites. There are no real photos of Earth, and even going so far as to equate NASA video footage with Hollywood films. I have to say, this subject is a little close to my heart. I consider myself something of a film buff, and I have pretty extensive knowledge of special effects and the way that they're done. Until some of the actors ran too far, because it was clearly two shots, Mothra on top and the natives on the bottom, and sometimes the natives would run too far and bleed into the Mothra shot, and it just... I bet most of you didn't notice this very smooth transition in the film Starship Troopers, where we go from a CGI bug alien to a hand-built prop that holds the soldier in the air. The cut between the two shots is disguised as motion blur from sudden camera movements. The problem with claims that NASA photos are CGI is very simple. Everything NASA does is open for the public to view. Not only can you download every photo they've ever shown the world, but you can actually download the raw image data itself. Every photo ever taken with an image sensor can be broken down into data, and that data is then essentially reinterpreted into a visual format. Because of this, you can easily look for yourself for evidence of CGI trickery or artifacts left over from Photoshop use. Of course, no flat earther ever does this, because it would send their precious echo chamber crumbling down on itself. Instead, they simply say it looks like CGI, therefore it must be CGI.
One of those satellites.
Fake.
Why do you think that's fake?
That's fake as fuck.
Why does it look fake as fuck?
It looks like something you would see in a movie.
That's because when they do it in a movie, they try to make it look like this, which is what looks real.
I have eyes, I can tell, they will say. Here's the problem with that. You're not an expert, and your eyes are not reliable. No flat earther can say specifically what appears to be CGI, or what appears to be faked, or anything of the sort. I'll give you a hint about why. Because it's all real. Second, let's talk about composites. Flat earthers frequently use the terms CGI and composite interchangeably, and have somehow come to the conclusion that a composite is not a real image. This simply isn't true. A composite is simply the stitching together of multiple images in order to show something too large for the camera to show in one image. Here's a really famous image of an iceberg, meant to show how much of the berg is actually under the water. This was comprised of 4 separate photos, because if the camera were backed up far enough to capture the full berg, it wouldn't even be visible through the water. Composites are a method that's been used frequently to capture images of Earth. Another thing flat earthers fail to realize is that the Earth is really freaking big. Most satellites orbit the Earth at a distance of about 35,000 kilometers, which simply isn't high enough to see the full Earth in one image. So yes, most images of Earth, like the famous second blue marble photo, are composites made out of numerous images captured by a satellite. But again, there's no reason to believe a composite is entirely faked. It's just several photos in one. Incidentally, this issue is part of the reason the Deep Space Climate Observatory, or the DISCOVER satellite, was launched. It is in a Lagrangian orbit at the Sun-Earth L1 Lagrangian point, approximately 1.5 million kilometers away from the Earth. At this distance, the DISCOVER satellite is able to capture daily images of our beautiful planet, photographing the entire Earth in one unedited shot. Here's a particularly interesting one. The Moon is tidally locked to Earth, so from the ground, we only ever see one side of it. Here's the side that so frequently eludes us. My last point is a pretty general one. I absolutely hate when I hear NASA footage compared to Hollywood films. Here's the problem. Hollywood has pacing. Hollywood knows how to condense a story into 90 minutes, and it knows when to slow down and when to pick up the pace. They know how to keep the audience interested. NASA footage, on the other hand, is boring. Watching a module or a rocket connect with the ISS takes hours and has no flash or pizzazz to it whatsoever.
Here is a look at the Dragon capsule making its way towards the International Space Station, 150 meters away now. Station and Dragon are...
We ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked.
And continuing to move into that 30-meter point where there will be a hold while the team on the ground assess the situation and make sure everything looks safe to go ahead and move in closer for the capture scheduled at 6:14.
We won't survive re-entry.
But it could.
Good night.
Noises everywhere.
Commander Koichi Wakata slowly moving the robotic arm now into place for the capture of the Dragon. Canadarm2 with Commander Koichi Wakata at the controls. Now has the Space X3 in its grip. Took place right on time at 6:14 a.m. Central.
In 2011, I tried to stay awake to watch the shuttle Endeavour dock with the ISS for the final time, and realized that after the initial connection was made, it was going to be another 5 to 6 hours before the astronauts could actually board the station.
Headed into an orbital sunset approaching the northwest coast of Australia. Endeavour is now 310 feet from the International Space Station.
Hollywood has a tendency to put people who are seen as traditionally attractive and charismatic in front of the camera. NASA astronauts, on the other hand, are awkward, average-looking, and frequently seem uncomfortable when being filmed. Probably because they're scientists, not actors. The simple fact is, science moves at the speed of science. There's nothing to indicate it's trying to propel its audience along. It just happens as it happens. Comparing NASA to Hollywood is absurd, and I can sum it up by comparing these two videos. One is the launch scene from the 1998 film Apollo 13, and the other is the actual footage of Apollo 13's launch in 1970.
Started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have commitment. We have liftoff. 13. East Saturn 5 moving up to the front. 6 moving down to the front. Another beauty.
Thank you guys very much for watching. If you like this video, like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel, which is Lazy Alien. As usual, my name's Kevin, and I'm out.